All right. Great that we still have you on board, and if you're just joining us, we're now going to take note of what is pretty much something that touches all of us. It is holiday time, and learners across all the segments of our education system are pretty much beginning to, or rather in holidays, and the debate on how productive they can be and engage in activities that are measured for their own good, but also for them to be able to continuously learn, is what we shall be discussing right about now. I'm joined on site by Stanley Mugume. He's a kids specialist and also the head teacher at Kyambogo College School. Many thanks for joining us, Mr. Head Teacher.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm okay.
Great. First and foremost, I see on your designation, apart from being the head teacher at Kyambogo College School, you are a kids specialist. Who is a kids specialist?
A kids specialist is that person who works closely with kids and knows what these kids are interested in and gives them support and skills. So effectively, in your designation as a head teacher, or even if a teacher, an instructor, all these are kids specialists, or they are extents to which we can rightly use the word kid specialist. Definitely, because we work with young children, we need to understand their emotions, we need to understand their needs, we need to understand them very well, and in that way we help them to learn better. Yes. Okay.
All right. Since many of the learners are now back home for holidays, or some are still getting there, there are concerns and questions that are lingering and do linger often, especially when the holidays are on. Being productive and staying within the measure of good character and good conduct is pretty much what everyone is looking at. But take us through what are the critical aspects that parents, guardians, and caretakers right now should be looking at?
Yes. Today, parents are facing a lot of challenges because, first of all, we have many parents who are absentee parents. And also, because of technology, some of our parents do not know technology. They are BBC. And sometimes our children are more exposed to technology than some of us.
That is right.
So it is very, very important that as parents we get interested to know what the children do with technology. However, I would like to let you know that of course technology is very good, but poses a lot of challenges to young generation. First of all, when the children get engaged in technology, it affects their learning.
That's right.
Because it affects their critical thinking. But now you'll find that when these children, you work closely with them, they'll know you must have some controls. You must set up parental controls. For instance, most of the devices, including the smartphones, the tablets, the smart TVs, have inbuilt parental control features. And all these restrict access certain apps and websites that would affect the children.
That's right.
There is usage of, you can use usage of restrictive filters, and these enable filters on streaming services like Netflix, like YouTube, that limit content age-appropriate shows and movies. And that one, in that way, you are helping them. Then we need to monitor also the screen time, because you know these children may want to see all the time. Establish screen-free zone and times, such as during meals or before bed, and that one will help, because if a child, I watched one time a movie, and I saw parents who was restricted children. These children are always on phone.
Yeah.
And the child would be up until he reaches when he's going to eat the food, and the parent would remove the phone and put it. and then they would concentrate and eat.
That is right.
Yes.
It is absurd.
Yeah.
What in that particular scenario should happen?
In that particular scenario?
The phone should... maybe the question should be, how much of phone usage should be allowed to a child?
I think for our African children, there is need to ensure that we monitor them very well, so that the phones can be used for things that are educative and for learning. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it means our children will end up now getting misused and going into those apps that can affect their learning. That is right. Because there are those apps that are really very, very dangerous and affect young people.
We should be very specific. TikTok, X, Facebook also has a few aspects that are not really good for the average young learner. And of course, the ability to be able to access any website. Simply because there is internet, data on the phone, poses a huge problem. But there's also a dilemma, especially for learners who are going to schools where technology has been effectively onboarded, including the fact that they can even attend some of the instructive materials. They can be uploaded on their phones and then they access them. How do you navigate that?
I think that there are some apps that are put on those phones that can restrict some of those. There
are controls.
There are controls that are put there. Because phones, if you go to Western world, children are allowed to use phones.
That is right.
They are allowed to use phones, but for them, the children know their rights, but also they know their responsibilities. In Africa here, if you give a phone to young people, first of all, they are interested in seeing those nude pictures and so on.
The music videos.
But in Western world, they know how to use their phones. But I think where we are going, time is going to come because of technology, because technology is everywhere. We just need to ensure that we put certain controls so that children still can use technology.
All right. I understand exactly what you're saying. Now, away from the technology challenges that many learners and families do face, technology takes away human interaction between a child and a parent, a caretaker, or guardian. And increasingly, many guardians and caretakers seem comfortable with that alienation. They do not try to either work against it so that they can engage more intimately with their children and be at a point where you can be able to relate a little bit more than instructing or talking at them, and be able to talk to them so they can also talk to you. How can parents today reduce the distance between them and their children, especially those that are hustling hard and making money?
To me, as a head teacher, I've been a head teacher for the last 25 years.
Wow.
And I think I've noted that, I noted this when it was COVID time. During COVID time,
a lot was
parents had time in managing the children. They are praying.
That is right.
When will this COVID end? I think for us in Kyambogo College, we do a lot of programs by sensitizing and supporting our parents. We give parenting talks to our parents to learn how to relate and support their children. Because many of the parents, much as some may be educated, but they lack a lot in parenting skills. And because of that, we have had challenges where children study and finish, and they don't go back home to support their parents.
That's right.
Many of the elite parents want their children to go overseas and abroad, study from there, but they don't come back. And you find the parents struggling and suffering. I think one way of doing this is to ensure that we get close to our children. We need to have a lot of dialogue with the children. We need to give emotional support. We need to pray with the children. where necessary. We need to engage these children in activities like sports when we are at home.
That is
you
right.
praying with them. We need also to engage them in some other activities. During my time, when I was still a student, I would see whenever we could go for holiday, we would participate in agriculture, would participate in farming, would participate in, but now today, children are in town and they have nothing to do. So you'll find them they are on watching TV and loitering around. But I think to those that are very busy, especially the elite parents, whenever it is holiday, that's the time I think they would ask for leave.
That is right.
To give support to their children, not leaving them to the house and other people.
In other words, they should realign their leave days to the time when the
children are in holiday.
And then you can afford to, instead of waiting when they're at school, and then you're also asking for leave.
Yes.
What is the purpose of it then? They could say, I want to have some rest from work.
Yes.
You know? But I think it's best to ask for leave during the holiday.
And then we should also understand that the biggest investment is our children. Because now, even when you put up very big buildings and so on, once your children have not been nurtured very well, when God calls you, they will sell off all those buildings.
That is right.
I think we need to invest them and have time to be with them, and they know that we are friends. Yes.
Talking about friendship, and very lastly, I hope you can use a minute to explain this. There are parents who say children must not necessarily feel like the friendship level getting to a point of excessive familiarity. They should know your dad and your mom. Because when they begin to think like you could be their peer, things go again a little bit haywire. It's a very thin line. I don't know how behavioral counselors tackle this, but it's something that should be made very clear.
For me, my thinking is that we need to know every family has certain ways of doing things. We need to cut a line. We need to have the do's
and the don'ts.
And the don'ts. A parent must know that he's a parent, but also a child must also be given to know that he's a child. But also, this is, I said, dialogue. We need to talk to them because these are our children.
They are.
For me, in my home, I have a son who is in primary 5. It's called Evans.
Okay.
And I put something on my phone. He was always checking. So I configured my phone. And when he came to check, because he knows a lot of technology, he told me, Daddy, I have seen you have put something I cannot access. But he came very fast and flashed like this, and it opened. Have you seen? I've already opened.
Okay.
So I think much as we are elders, but the relationship with our children is very important. Because that's when we understand them very well, and that's when they will not engage themselves in some dubious activities because they can always share with us. I shared with someone when I was in Washington, D.C., a gentleman who told me about his son and about the daughter. The daughter was checking a boyfriend and told him that we shall sit in a hotel and you'll sit there and I want you to look at my boyfriend. And the gentleman, the father was there and looking at him and checked him. I said, no, according to how I have seen the conversation.
It's take.
It is take.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley Mugume, head teacher at Kyambogo College School, and also a kids specialist for what is no doubt a very timely counsel, especially when it comes to the relationship between parents and their children. For you who is watching and you are a learner, the holiday time is one that you must be constructive in your engagement, but most importantly be of value to the household and everyone else that is within the community. It's important to think about community too. That will do it for our Take Note, but do stay with us. Our conversations here on Morning at NTV do continue. Have you taken time to understand emceeing and rapping? Well, we shall be talking that very shortly. Stay with us.